Welcome back to Hollywood Pulse. Appreciate all the support y'all been showing. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single drop. Jim Jones rolled up on Shannon Sharpe's podcast and lit the room on fire. He didn't just say he's relevant, he claimed he's more influential than Nas. The second those words left his mouth, the vibe got icy real quick.
You gotta put up Shay.
50 Cent didn't even have to speak. No captions, no name drops, just pure smoke. He posted an old federal transcript on IG like a silent threat and let the streets handle it. Fans went wild, digging up old wiretaps and hunting dusty footage like they're solving cold cases. Meanwhile, Jim's in the gym dropping diss tracks like he's training for a yard fight. But don't get it twisted. This ain't just about Nas. It's deeper than bruised pride. It's like 50 sending a silent shot to the whole game. People forgot who's really untouchable out here. Now there's talk about how some folks dodged big indictments with no explanation. Jim tried to flex, but he might have unleashed a storm way bigger than rap. Every time Jim Jones speaks on Nas, it hits heavy. That beef ain't random either. Back in 2002, Nas went off on Hot 97, randomly blasting Cam'ron, calling his album trash for no reason. That flipped everything. Dipset came out swinging and Jim dove straight in. Things turned savage with shots fired on mixtapes and Jim got personal. He even threatened Nas, saying he'd smack the kufi off him. And he wasn't joking on tracks like We Fly High. This wasn't just rap beef, it was real street drama. Here's the crazy twist. Jim actually used to admire Nas. Just last year, he showed him mad love. Then out of nowhere, respect turned into pure shade. Everything flipped when he slid on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's podcast. Joe stirred it up heavy and Jim couldn't hold back.
I saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
that's my young boy.
big hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying? Nas is like a god.
In my era came into light and started going crazy that these kids love me. They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them though.
You know what I mean?
A lot of them though.
I had Nas. But remember, Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade.
Yes.
So Nas was my idol when I was young. Like you did, came to dressing, the wordplay, the music, everything. I was a superior Nas fan. Period. I'd never take that away from him. But then as I got in the game, you gotta realize that your rivals would be idols, and not to take anything away from that, I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation.
What happened next was chaos. Jim dropped one of the boldest takes in hip hop lately. He didn't just call himself relevant, he said he's more influential than Nas, the Queensbridge King, the Illmatic legend selling out MSG in his 50s. But Jim didn't flinch. He stood firm and doubled down like a boss. That podcast didn't just stir the pot, it knocked it off the stove and set the whole kitchen on fire. Before the smoke cleared, Jim spun back on Shannon Sharpe's nightcap with Chad Ocho TKO Johnson, doubling down again and making everything even messier. Shannon pressed him hard. But what Jim said next had fans pausing the video like, did he really just say that? He dug up old Dipset versus Nas beef from the early 2000s and tried to flip it into a win. Jim claimed he was a bigger Nas fan than most, but somehow he'd surpassed Nas in influence. Then Jim started switching up, calling Nas one of the freshest to ever do it with fashion, but he circled right back like, Nas don't move the streets like I do.
Nas always came to the things that
He was heated. Jim got so pressed he even roasted Shannon Sharpe's outfit on his own damn show. It got awkward fast. Ocho Cinco was just sitting there watching like two uncles beefing at the BBQ. While Nas was probably somewhere locked in working on his next album, Jim flipped out accusing Shannon of inviting him on just for clout. That's when Uncle Shay snapped back like, this the biggest podcast you ever been on. And he wasn't lying. Then it got spicy for real. Shannon Sharpe switched up from chill podcast host to full-blown challenger. Jim said he's better than Nas, and Shannon didn't just check his bars, he challenged his body. Instead of clapping back at 50 Cent, Jim tried to duck the heat by flexing in a new lane, throwing out a workout challenge to Shannon, trying to prove he's still strong through push-ups instead of punchlines. But while Jim was busy with his theatrics like playing at a high level, check my record, 50 Cent had already moved in silence behind the scenes with that old label situation still heavy on his name. Fans went wild in the comments. The internet was eating it up like crazy. A retired NFL Hall of Famer defending Nas like a real rap soldier. One fan wrote, "Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done. Jones, you delusional. Shannon, thank you for checking that." And they weren't wrong. Why were Joe and Jada so silent during that chaos? Meanwhile, 50 Cent was lurking, peeping the whole circus unfold. Trust, he wasn't laughing. Just when folks thought it couldn't get any more petty, fans dug up that old clip, the ultimate disrespect. Jim didn't just get ignored by Nas back in the day, he got laughed off stage. And now in 2025, that same clown energy is back like it never left. But it ain't over yet. While Nas stayed silent and Shannon got swollen, somebody else was locked in watching it all go down. The second 50 Cent heard Jim say he was better than Nas. He didn't rage or argue. He just laughed. 50 dove straight into his never-ending vault of receipts and pulled out pure fire. He reignited one of hip-hop's messiest rumors just by calling Jim Jones Individual One. That one caption had the internet in tears. But it wasn't just some slick nickname. It was a federal label, straight out of Tekashi 6699's wiretapped calls during his 2018 9 Trey Bloods trial. Here's the deal. Prosecutors played an audio clip in court where someone, allegedly Jim Jones, was heard giving orders to violate Tekashi for snitching. Jim's name was never officially said in court, only labeled Individual One. His voice wasn't confirmed and he was never charged. But the streets never forgot. Blogs never forgot either. And 50 Cent, he definitely never forgot. So now, with Jim acting tough on podcasts and dragging Nas into drama, 50 saw the perfect opening to remind everyone what's really up. He hit IG and dug up a deleted meme that said, "So that's why they ain't pull him in." Boom! Timeline exploded. Fans started yelling, "Say it ain't so, Jimmy!" They instantly remembered 2019, when the Shade Room posted courtroom updates from Tekashi's case. A verified reporter said Tekashi named Jim Jones as a 9 Trey member. That's when 50 jumped in with a spicy comment. Then came that infamous video, 50 looking shook, saying, "I'm afraid for my life. Jimmy is gang gang."
I'm hiding out in Texas. Please, whatever you do, don't tell them I'm in San Antonio. Don't tell them I'm staying at the Four Seasons. Don't tell them, please don't tell them, man, because there's just so much pressure on me right now. I don't know what to do.
The internet was howling, but Jimmy, he wasn't laughing. Dude was twitching for real. Here's the twist. 50 ain't just randomly beefing with Jim now. They've been had smoke for years. This Nas moment just gave him the perfect excuse to drag Jim again. Let's rewind. Back in 2007, things got wild when 50 brought Jim and Jules Santana on stage during a G-Unit show right in the middle of Dipset's messy internal fallout. Cameron saw it as straight disrespect. Dipset was already crumbling behind the scenes and 50 poured gas on the fire on purpose. Fast forward to 2019. Jim's name gets tied to that same Individual One label in the wiretap. Now it's full circle. 50's just sitting back, pressing play on old receipts and letting fans connect the dots.
I never got to did I ever got to see Nas? I never got to sit down and have a conversation with Nas and things like that. I had called you about it and things like that. That was like still one of the people that I never got to have a conversation throughout my history of rap and things like that. I think I would love to have a conversation with Nas. I wouldn't know if he knows it, but Nas was one of my all-time favorite rappers coming up and things like that.
I've heard you say that.
Since the barbecue and things like that. Like he really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anybody.
Even though Jim was never officially charged, them courtroom whispers hit different when prosecutors played that wiretap. and the name Individual One got stamped on him heavy. The internet went crazy with snitching rumors. Jim saw every shady post 50 dropped. Every single one. At first, he stayed silent. Then out of nowhere, Jim posted a classic Bird Gang era photo dripping in Dipset nostalgia. The caption, "Why you keep lying? I'm going back to sleep. Free Mel Matrix till it's reversed." That shout out to his locked up homie Mel Matrix, doing over 11 years for racketeering, wasn't just love, it was a jab at 50, like, you out here faking narratives. But Jim wasn't done. He laced up and dropped another flex, this time aiming at Shannon Sharpe. His caption read, "Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe don't start ducking this challenge now. Go talk like a podcaster or go walk what you talk. My sneakers tied." Jim basically said, "Run it." Then he amped it up more. "You already challenged me in front of the world, might as well finish the job, champ." Even Ocho Cinco chimed in saying Shannon didn't want it in public. Jim said, "Fine, let's do it private." He told Ocho to be the witness too. Size didn't matter to Jim. He said, "Where I'm from, we don't duck challenges." While 50 Cent was trolling like a sniper from the shadows, Jim was in full warrior mode, ready for smoke. And just when it seemed he was cooling off, boom! Another post. "If you 40 and up arguing with me about Nas, you already lost." He hit fans with some twisted truth too. "Y'all fell for the bait. My streams go up every time Mel goes viral. I'm teaching these older artists a lesson in marketing." He called out OGs, saying they're stuck in the past, too bitter to move with the times. Tighten up. Then came the knockout line. "I said what I said. P.S. I'll wrap circles around any artist from my era who dares step in the booth. Bring some money too, because this game ain't free. We outside working every day." Meanwhile, Nas still silent, not a word. He's letting the storm rage while Jim's out here baiting, talking big, calling himself more influential. But let's keep it real. If Nas did respond, it wouldn't just be a diss, it'd be straight lyrical execution. Fans ain't letting Jim slide no more. They're calling him out heavy while he keeps running his mouth like he's untouchable. Nas still chilling in silence, and 50 Cent? He's lurking in the shadows, pulling strings like a true puppet master. Here's the scary part. If that unreleased wiretap really exists, Jim might have just talked himself into something way bigger than rap beef. While he's out here rapping, flexing, and challenging podcasters to gym battles, 50's been silent, too silent. And when 50 goes quiet like this, that's when the real bomb drops. So the question is, will Nas finally step in and shut it down with straight bars? Or will 50 let the streets cook Jim slow and drop the truth when it's way too late to run? We're watching this unfold in real time, and trust me, it ain't over yet. So make sure you like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more. This drama's only getting messier. See you on the next one.